First thing I wanted to do is kind of give some context for the announcement and maybe make it a little bit more concrete as to what we're talking about and what Stuart just shared with you. And essentially, the technology that we have been investing in and taking to both our customers as well for on-premise solutions as well as in our cloud is something that we've actually been doing for the last 18 months. So this is not just the launch of a product that is a 1.0 capability. This is something that we've actually been collaborating with our customers and refining what the capability set actually is to the point where we're about to release version 1 of this product, and we actually have 2 customers in production. So the importance of that to a software company and to you is that this is not something that was developed in a vacuum. This is something that was developed against the real world needs of our customers, and the requirements were fed directly into solving those problems. A couple of things I want to just step through. First of all is topic of sifting through data, and then finalize on what the impact to the business, your business, our business is today. So first of all, the topic of sifting through data. Getting information requires a very significant investment. First of all, you have to start with data. And I think John Noon's presentation mentioned this earlier. There's lots of data out there. But getting information out of that data requires a lot of time, energy, and effort. And then when you actually get that, you have to get value out of it by making it actionable. Just to get to the information, though, the first thing you got to be able to do is actually get that data together and aggregate it. You got to bring it together in one spot. Then you actually got to look at that data, examine it, turn it on end, find connections in that data so that you get some kind of insight out of it, some kind of information. This is very typical for anybody who does analytic modeling. Once you actually have that connection, that insight, you actually have to make some meaningful conclusions out of it. So you might find a bunch of connections in your data, but it might not impact your business. You got to be able to translate that into something that's going to be actionable, that you can actually make an effect on your business. Then you have to take those actions. You actually have to be able to not only conclude what to do, but you actually have to implement it, either through policy, through procedure, or automation as a preferable task. And then you actually have to measure it. Is the action I'm taking actually doing what I expected it to do? And if it's not, how do I actually adjust for that? And those adjustments need to be made in a timely manner. So there's nothing here that doesn't occur today. One of the challenges is it takes an incredibly long period of time. And I'm sure every last one of you can attest to that. Just the feedback mechanism on an analytic model, minimum 3 months. And you're lucky if you can get it in 3 months. Additionally, you're not always sure that you got everything out of that data that you possibly could. So you spend an incredible amount of time looking at it again and again, and you look to get additional data sources in so that you can augment and make even better decisions. So you've all made significant investments in doing this. Data warehouses have been built, large investments in infrastructure, hardware, storage, significant expenses and ongoing expenses as you continue to accrue data. And many of you are actually starting to go down the path of the big data. And the costs associated with warehousing that data is escalating. Many of you have actually already invested in and have entire staffs that are dedicated to business intelligence, mining that data and finding out how your operation is performing, and then using some of that data back into your analytic modeling process. And then you actually need to be able to take that and put it into your customer management systems. You need to be able to execute on what that information and insight is. So the question is the information, is it working? Is it doing what you want? Probably. Is it doing everything that you want it to do? Is it actionable? Is it responsive? And is it affordable? So a lot of talk around big data. How do you actually take the significant investments that you've already made and actually take them to the next level of getting to this concept of big data where more and more data becomes available? This is a bit of an eye chart, and I'm not going to step through all of this. Stuart shared most of this with you. But one alternative to actually managing the data yourself is to actually go to the marketplace. There's a lot of data in the marketplace. In fact, many of you actually go to the marketplace today. But your common technique is you pull it in-house, and then you manage the data after you buy large blocks of it. An alternative is to actually leave the data, sit up here in some kind of public service, combine it with your data, pull it together and orchestrate on it, apply some automated intelligence around finding those connections and correlations in unstructured data, put it down into a form that can actually be understood, and then act on it, starting to consume it. Well, assuming that you can actually do all of this and you can get the data down here where you can start acting on it in some kind of usable form, the question is, what do you do with it? Okay, so I've got some insight on this data. I've got to take some action on it. I'm going to make a decision on it. Well, how do I know what the outcome of that is? Well, you can wait 3, 6, 9 months and see what the business outcome is, or you can do something called simulate. What if you could actually run through your scenarios with that data and say, hey, now I have this new data, I have this new insight. If I conclude off of that data, what would that have done to the decisions that I just made in the last 3 to 6 months? Then you can actually say, I like that decision and I'm going to actually productionize it, but I want to watch it. I want to make sure that that decision does exactly what I want it to do, and if it actually doesn't, provide that feedback up here and get alternative data sources or relook at the data sources, gaining and gleaning intelligence, additional intelligence and information as you use it, rather than having to make those large investments up front. So Stuart went through a lot of the underpinning technology, and I'm not going to spend time going over any of that again. And all of that can be examined at a different time. But assuming that it all works, you have to actually make some kind of business impact. So to make it real for you, we'll talk about Fico's business impact. And it starts with the human capital, what Stuart mentioned in the beginning of his presentation, and commitment to the task at hand. So I'd like to, since I have you all here, thank you for your business. The auto industry for us is a growing segment, and we are investing significantly more energy and resource into this business because we see it as a growth opportunity for FICO along with you. And for us, our key resource and human capital to bring this business to bear for us is all due to this gentleman right here. So I want to thank Ken as well.
My daughters will be proud.
So there needs to be some criteria for success if you're gonna make an investment in any business venture. So what we see as the driving factors here is the time to value. Right? The ability to actually minimize your level of investment to make the impact of data, big data, into your decisioning process. So that means you need to have an operating infrastructure, you need to have business accessibility. You can't wait for your IT departments to do this. This needs to be something that you can very quickly launch to, and it needs to be something that you can control and configure. You need to actually be able to leverage your return on expense. You've already made a big investment. You don't need another big investment to get incremental lift. You need small investments to get incremental lift and iterate on them. You need to be able to get the insight, and the insight is more than just the insight on the outcome. Because by the time you're actually measuring and finding the insight on the outcome, it's too late. Something has happened, either good or bad, but something has happened. What you need to be able to get, in order to get good insight is you need to be able to measure it as it goes. And you need to be able to measure not just the outcome, but the decision process itself. You need to understand the decisions that I'm making, where are they headed? Maybe you put in a policy, but it never gets used. That's very important to understand. How do you know that it never got used? How do you know what decisions are actually being applied when you have third parties involved? And then you need to be able to monitor those outcomes to feed back into improving those decisions. Well, in order to improve them, you need to be able to control them. You need access to them. And then you need to be able to put that simulation down so that you know that the change that you're about to make is the right change. And then you need to actually bring them to your customer. We talked about some issues that are pressing you yesterday, and there was a wide understanding of the nature of the issue, but a big open question about how you actually implement that and how you could go do that. So, the announcement. Stuart mentioned our analytic cloud, and it will be available at the end of this year. And what we are going to be standing up is an auto portion in our analytic cloud, specifically targeted towards analytic services and decision services for you guys. So we have something called the Fico Net today. And the Fico Net actually brings a whole bunch of data sources into FICO. It's just data connectors. But those data sources, many of you use today on the collections and recovery aspect. You're going to hear more about that a little bit later, so I'm not going to spoil the fun. But in addition to that Fico Net, there are a whole bunch of other data providers that we are seeking to bring into the partnership with our marketplace in the FICO Analytic Cloud. Some of those partners are in this room. And once the data is available in our cloud, there's analytic services that get added around that you can begin to consume. Now, the beauty of these analytic services and the availability of that data in our marketplace is that you can start applying decisions to augment what you currently do with a click of a button. Simply mapping in, because the data connections are there, they're established, predefined analytics will be there, and your ability to extend those analytics. Put your own decision criteria in, run your own what-if scenarios against those data sources to do the trials, to find out if adding that new data to your current decision process will actually improve your decisions. So look for this in the February timeframe, and look for our first early partners in the cloud. And this guy here will be more than happy to help figure out how we can leverage this capability and all the benefits that come with it from the existing infrastructure. Thank you.